And we are back for day 6 of this family business life 9-day transformation challenge. And it is the second experience on day 6, which is the lunch and learn portion. And why lunch and learn? Well, it's lunchtime. So grab you some lunch and learn while you're grabbing some lunch, or consider this your lunch for the day, your food, your nourishment to nourish your hopes, nourish your beliefs, nourish your thought process with regard to family life and business life. And I tell you, this has been extremely challenging for me. And I mean that in the sense that I was just talking with my daughters a little bit before this session about, a lot of times when we experience challenge, what we tend to do is we look at the challenge as something that's trying to take us down. And so we find ourselves being more on the side of feeling like we're succumbing to the challenge and being positioned to be disrupted by it. Well, let me just tell you, disruption is a part of challenge, but disruption is a part of challenge for the purpose of us being engaged in our subduing nature. And that subduing nature is designed to position us to be in the context of the absolute certainty of transformation. Meaning, when we are challenged, we should understand that we are really being challenged for the purpose of being better. We're really being challenged for the purpose of being positioned to advance and to progress. And as a matter of fact, before we get into what we're going to be talking about today, I want to share something about when it comes to being challenged. But before I do that, I just want to make sure to acknowledge our partner in this 9-day transformation challenge effort, Awareness Elevation. They have been a magnificent partner behind the scenes and on the surface in regard to this event. Day 1, 2, and 3, they certainly brought some magnificent contributions in regard to the experiences that we hosted, as well as another one of them will be on tomorrow for day 7 for the third experience that we're going to be providing, which is the third on day 7, and then the third VIP Q&A experience. So make sure you check that out. It's going to be absolutely phenomenal. Why is it going to be phenomenal? Because it's going to be some people who are there to do something that is phenomenal. And so the next thing that I wanted to share before I really jump into the content was, there's a perspective that I teach with regard to potential, and one of those aspects is that when we experience resistance and being able to progress in the context of our potential, that resistance is designed to engage us in a challenge that positions us to understand that this is the place we need to be in. This is an indicator that we are right where we need to be, because on the other side of this resistance is the fullness of our unlimited, unfulfilled potential that is ready to be unleashed. And so I'm very hopeful that you are getting benefit from what's being shared, from already what's been shared, but also there's more. So the lunch and learn portion has really been focused on what I call the trilogy of transformation. And that is the 3 areas that impact: 1, the problem of family life crashing and burning existing while business life is thriving and vibing. And then the solution, which is in the context of mastery of family life and business life in them being teammates. And so we have focused on these particular items here. I want to bring them up on the screen for you. The 3 misleading beliefs, we focused on those. What are those 3 misleading beliefs? That is believing to achieve work-life balance, believing that one is more important than the other, and believing that there's no relationship between family life and business life. However, there are some accurate beliefs, and While you may not be able to achieve balance and therefore achieve work life balance, you can achieve flow, meaning we must believe that flow is able to be achieved between family life and business life. And then the second accurate belief is that you may not be able to choose one over the other. And to be honest, one is not more important than the other, but we can make fuel. We can make them fuel one another and we can make fuel between them. So we must believe that fuel is able to be made between family life and business life. And when you have them on the alignment scale, the alignment measure, then what happens is when they are in a flow of continuity, it makes it very easy for there to be fuel made in each one and flow out of each one. And that last one, which we're going to be talking about today, trumps the one that believes that there's no relationship between the two. And that's why the title for this Lunch and Learn experience is Reconciled Relationship Clarity. You know, 2023 for me is the year of clarity. I know that rhymed. I did it on purpose. Matter of fact, my theme for the year is execute with clarity. And if I had my hoodie, I would have put it on. It says execute with clarity in 2023. And you can actually get one of those from 3lgear.com. Pretty cool hoodies that are out there. It's t-shirts and all that kind of stuff. Anyway, that's not the point. Reconciled relationship clarity. Clarity is one of the most powerful things in life. Clarity speaks of vision. It speaks of clear. It speaks of flow. It speaks of things having movement without restriction. Clarity is powerful. As a matter of fact, because of clarity, it took me about 10 years to be able to understand that I needed to let go of my ego and actually niche down into a particular problem and a particular group that I solved the problem for. I think it was just a lot of ego that I really didn't understand was really overtaking me. But when I really committed to the understanding of the power of niching, I got some magnificent clarity. As a matter of fact, the two clarity questions, which are what problem do you solve and who do you solve that for? When I actually answered those two questions, I cannot tell you not only the amount of clarity I had, but the amount of peace I had. I remember listening to Jeremy Anderson, powerful motivational speaker connected with E.T., the hip hop preacher. Jeremy Anderson, I was listening to him on a podcast that he was doing. Matter of fact, he was on Anthony O'Neill's podcast. And Jeremy Anderson said, man, when I decided to, do the thing that I knew that was really for me to do, which was to focus on speaking to schools and like just be absolutely and totally committed to that. He's like, man, I had so much peace. Like it didn't matter about all the other opportunities and the things that I could do. Like this was my thing and nothing was going to stop me. It was like so much freedom. And I heard him say that, and I was like, oh, man, no, I want that. And when I experienced it, I completely understood what Jeremy meant. Being able to be in a position to help people expose the blind spots that cause family life crashing and burning while business life is thriving and vibing, as well as to be in a position to help them eliminate not only the blind spots, but even the restrictions, restraints, and disruptions so that they can actually achieve mastery between family life and business life is so profoundly valuable. And so, we are going to be talking about that third accurate belief. But before we get there, I want to make sure that you understand the thought process of our topic so that you can really understand the accurate belief once we really dive into it. We started with clarity. Now we back up into relationship. We talked about relationship as well as within the context of relationship, how relationships have roles, and then there are roles within the context of relationships. And there is emphatically, when we think about this accurate belief, number three, more than anything, you need to know there is a relationship between family life and business life, which we are going to really break down. It's simple. It's more simple than you could have imagined, but we're going to break it down and really let you see it for what it really is. But the other thing is this: reconciled. Now, this has two meanings for me. One, in the context of reconcile, it is related to the very specifics of my accounting background and being able to make sure things meet, make sure things are in alignment, make sure things are what they are to be. And then there's the aspect of reconciled in the sense that there's a communication that there was an initial intention prior to now. See, reconciled in the context of accounting says that, okay, I need to come and make sure that everything that has been done meets with something that says this has been done so that we can assure that everything is been accounted for appropriately. So if I had X amount of expenses and X amount of income and things of that sort, I need to make sure that the appropriate transactions and documentation and all of that is supporting in order to ensure that what was said to have happened actually happened, and I validate and confirm that that took place. Awesome. But there's another aspect of reconciliation, meaning there has been a separation from something, and now there is a return to it and a reconnection to it. And that's actually the aspect that we really want to focus on, is more so that second one as it pertains to this topic and the context of this accurate belief related to family life and business life. The misleading belief number three is one of the most just insensitive ones, in the sense that it's like is subtly problematic, because it supposes that there is really no relationship between family life and business life. And as a result, you have people then, trying to uh, choose one over the other, make one more important than the other, and trying to achieve balance. And then not only trying to achieve balance between only one, work life. We established that work and life were essentially synonymous, but also not only they're essentially synonymous, work life is the same as business life, which means if you're trying to balance work life, not only are you trying to balance something that is essentially synonymous that you really can't separate, you're really trying to only balance family, and you can't balance one thing. You have to have two or more things, more than one thing to balance. That's why it's insanity. But the point is, more than anything, there is a relationship. And when we don't believe that family life and business life have a relationship, that they are intended to relate, then we go about the insanity of making one more important than the other and trying to achieve work life balance, which is absolutely impossible to achieve. It's not achievable. But on the other hand, when we deal with these accurate beliefs, where we've established one, that achieve flow. And when you achieve flow by aligning things, putting them on a continuity structure and constructing them in that manner, it changes the game. Not only that, listen carefully. When you are not trying to choose between the two, but you are making fuel between the two, making fuel in one so that it flows out into the other, and then that fuel is making fuel. It's just all the goodness, right? Then you're indicating that there is a reconciled relationship clarity of family life and business life, such that you believe accurate belief number three. And let's just move straight on to it. Create focus. That's what we need to do with it. You believe that focus is able to be created between family life and business life, but you believe that creating focus is pivotal, critical, necessary within the context of the relationship between family life and business life. In other words, it goes back to that clarity piece. Create focus. You make it to where it becomes clear. I don't know if y'all can see my eyes there, so I got to get a little bigger. Yeah, see, it made it clear. It was focused there because I opened it up a little bit. You got to create focus between these two, which means you must be intentional about ensuring that the relationship between these two is absolutely clear. That's what you got to do. You got to know that there is a relationship between the two, and you got to make sure that you are intentional about this relationship. Make sure that you are intentional about the conveyance of what this relationship is, and make sure that they do what they're supposed to do. And that will be very easy when you're achieving flow, making fuel, and then creating focus. It's so easy. Now, you know, it can seem like this is somewhat arbitrary, all the information that is shared here, but it's not. And I'll tell you why. It's not, because the truth is, these are things that we have built into us to exhibit, to know, and to understand. And most problematically is that we are exhibiting the very context of these accurate beliefs in business that is thriving and vibing, but we're just not making sure that the context and the constructs and the content of these very beliefs are making sure they show themselves in family life. And so, because of that, I agree with what a few of our guests have said, is that as a result of the disproportionate focus that we've placed on business over family life, in many instances sought to choose that one over the other and make it more important than family life, it's so important that we make family life a viable and valuable priority in such a manner that it seems like it just becomes our number one focus no matter what. But here's what you got to understand. Family life, I like to put into the category of being like ground. Take you back to the agricultural perspective for a moment. When you take a seed and you put it in the ground, you don't see what's happening below the surface. That seed is germinating, and actually it's dying to what it is as a seed. But that death process is so that it might live and come alive as this rooted system of life-giving substance. And then at some point, depending on what type of seed it is, it begins to sprout. And the rootedness of it begins to create this emergent strength to where the roots become like a foundation of a building, to where now it gives power and structure to the extending of something out from the roots and through the surface, through the ground, into the open space. And what you've got to understand, I like to associate this more with a tree than just a plant, because trees are those structures that are pretty massive, and they tend to have roots below the ground that are pretty massive as well. And I mean, they can go deep. I mean, really deep. It is that which is below the surface when a tree sprouts up, and I mean just magnificent. I love to talk about peach trees, so let's talk about a peach tree. A magnificent peach tree just grows and it sprouts, and now it grows its leaves and creates all this beautiful shadiness and has these wonderful fruits on it that are so beautiful looking. Looking forward to the firmness of them and the sweetness of them and the goodness of all that good stuff. We see all of that on the outside, but we don't see those roots that are just being nourished and kept and strong on the inside. See, family life is everything below the surface. Business life is everything above the surface. And I just got to ask this question. And you can answer for sure with regard to great clarity when I've said, that if business life is thriving and vibing while family life is crashing and burning, it's really illusion, because when you look at it, if you don't have roots below the surface, that which is above the surface, if it's holding up with the right type of situation, it's coming down. So you know that that's true. But the question I have is this for you. I want you to think about it before we get into the next portion of talking about this create focus. If you disregard the roots and the process that has to take place and has taken place beneath the surface, does that mean that that process is invaluable or has not taken place? No. No matter how we think about it, it's absolutely important that what takes place beneath the surface of the tree that we see, that peach tree that's so beautiful, it's important to understand that you really can't separate family life and business life. You can't separate the roots from the fruits, huh? But why are we doing that? Why is it that we are operating in such a manner where we are separating the fruits from the roots? Why are we separating business life from family life? Why are we acting like there is no relationship? It's because there's something that's been perpetuated to give us the perception that you can have business life without family life. Something has been perpetuated. But I'm here to give you reconciled relationship clarity. I'm here to give you a reconnection with the reality that is embedded within you, myself, and everybody else about family life that we should ensure that we create focus with, that we must believe is necessary to create focus between, in order that there might be sustained and retained value for the fact that family life and business life should achieve flow, make fuel, so that they can be the teammates that there ought to be. Well, let's look at some things. This is one of the reasons that we seek to choose family or business life over family life and seemingly make business life more important than family life. And I'm just going to say this just to be clear. You cannot make one more important than the other because their nature, their relationship. Think about it. Are we going to say that the rooted experience beneath the surface is better than the fruited experience above the surface? No. No. They work together. They have a continuity of value mutually. Same thing with business life and family life. As a matter of fact, I'll take a brief moment to say this, that it was as a result of the successes that I achieved in business life that I began to evaluate my family life a little differently, especially when it was crashing and burning. I talked about this when I was with Michael. I believe it was with Michael yesterday on the VIP Q&A experience. Do go check that out, because we really got into a lot of things with regard to divorce and, different things that could stop it, or, what you look at on the other side, all that kind of stuff. But I was talking with Michelle Castillo, who was a part of, I think it was, day 4, if I'm not mistaken, day 4 mastermind. No, it was day 5, actually. I'm sorry. It was yesterday as well. She was the 6:30 a.m. Central Standard Time. And I said to her, I said, Michelle, and this might have been in a private conversation. I don't remember exactly, but I know what family life crashing and burning is in the way that you experienced it, because she experienced divorce. I said, I know what family life crashing and burning is in the same way. The difference is I just didn't end up going through divorce. You know, my wife came to me one day and said, I'm tired. I want a divorce. This was back in, I think it was 2012, maybe even 20, I think it was 2012. She came to me and was like, I'm just tired, and when you get to a point like that, it's scary, to be in a place where you feel like everything is just like completely crashing down on you. And I'll tell you, one of the things I thought about in that moment was like, how am I going to look to everything and everyone around me? It wasn't that I was concerned about my image, to be honest. It's more so like I was concerned about, like, I was sharing things, that speak to people, having a certain level of confidence and encouragement, and, provide some value in people really making it in their marriages and in their family lives and all that kind of stuff. And here it is, mine is just like shattering. And I was like, man, how is that going to look? And without going into a lot of details, it was a pivotal moment for us because how I responded in that moment, was game changing, such that my wife and I were still married today, over 16 years. And let me just be honest with you, it's getting sweeter. Business life is even getting sweeter with it. Okay. But here's the thing. One of the reasons that we don't really see family life get the recognition in regard to its mutuality of necessity that business life gets is because we tend to look at them from an independent perspective. Simply because in many instances, like, we live in a world where more and more people, and I think this is, across the board, that this would likely be the case, but most people are employees. Most people work for someone, right? And so most people don't actually create their own businesses or have their own businesses or are entrepreneurs. And even if you work for someone, you may not actually be pursuing different passive opportunities and things of that sort. And so what happens is, it's like subconsciously, even if you're not being taught by some type of structure, some type of environment or organization, there's a tendency to kind of feel like they're isolated simply because your work doesn't necessarily correspond to your family, right? That's why a lot of people feel like business life is just funding family life, and it just gets frustrating. All right. Well, when it comes down to it, family life and business life are independent, meaning that what happens in family life is not necessarily happening exactly in business life, and vice versa. What's happening in business life is not necessarily happening in family life, unless you have a family business, unless you have a business where your family is able to be connected with it and they kind of see things happening within the context of your environment. Like myself, I work from home in many instances. These types of things I do from my home office, and as a result of that, families in the midst, people kind of got to be quiet to a degree. There's a number of things that got to go on. But the truth is that work is specific. The work taking place is very isolated from the family. Even though the family may be a part of it, it's not necessarily family stuff. Like, for example, yesterday, my family, I came in, and that morning we did the mastermind experience, and then we went out because we had to be at church at a certain time because my wife and I, we sing with our praise group, so we had to be there to do our early morning rehearsal and tech run through and stuff like that. Then we had some other things, had service, and we had to get up out of there so we could get back to get in here to make sure we took care of the lunch and learn experience, and then that VIP Q&A experience that we had with Michael yesterday. And I told the fam before I even got going on that lunch and learn, I said, listen, when I'm done, we are going to go and have a good time at the park. Oh, we're going to have a great day. It's beautiful weather out here. We're going to go and have a good time. And that's what we did. But here's the thing. While I was at the park, I wasn't doing work. And even if I thought about some work stuff, it was primarily family. Like it wasn't overlapping. And even if there was some level of overlap, you really can't do the same things. And that goes back to why it's not possible to balance, because you really can't put equal amounts of energy, time, effort, resources, and all sorts of things into them at the same time. We deal with them independently because that's what they are. But there's something else. They are dependent. Ah. So family life and business life are independent, but they're also dependent. Guess what? I give you the easiest way to look at it. The people who are in business life, guess where they come from? They come from family life. Don't tell nobody I told you that. Yeah, we know that, but we don't necessarily look at it from that standpoint. Carl Wynn, who was on this morning for the mastermind experience at 6:30 a.m. Central Standard Time for day 6. He said, "Man, what happens in private shows itself in public." You see, in other words, watch this. This is how you know what Carl is saying is true. What happens under the surface with the seed shows itself above the surface with the tree. With the leaves, with the branches, with the trunk, with the fruit. What happens beneath the surface shows itself above the surface. And see, the truth is, when it comes to having focus, creating focus, understanding that you must believe that focus must be created. Focus is to be created. Focus is the essence of everything that is created between family life and business life. When you understand that the truth behind family life crashing and burning is that there's not intentional dealing with the true context of family life and business life. We are isolating them to be independent rather than independent and dependent, which means, guess what? Family life and business life are really interdependent. I told y'all this was going to be simple, y'all. But they're interdependent. They are designed to flow in and out of one another, make fuel between one another, because the focus, the created focus, the focus that is to be created between them is the awareness that they are in fact related and are related in that they are interdependent. They function independently for the purpose of showing their dependence on one another. And their dependence shows the value and the power of the independence of them. See, I was telling Carl as I was talking today about, just some of the experiences that I had with my father growing up. And I have to tell you all, my first actual job outside of working with my dad, because I had a lot of jobs with my dad. Like, we did a lot of volunteer stuff, but also I worked with my dad in some aspects where my dad would pay me with work that he was doing for other people from an electrical standpoint. But my first kind of corporate setting type of job was working for one of the top Fortune 50 companies, Walmart. I didn't even think back then that I was working for a high level Fortune company. I just looked at it casually. And even though I looked at it casually and it was unfortunate, at some point I really clicked one day and was like, "Oh no, man, I work for one of the largest companies in the world." Man, you can't sniff at that. Even though I worked at the retail operational level in the stores, like, you can't sniff at that, because you working to influence such a powerful system as that, it was magnificent. But let me tell you something. Do you know what really prepared me to go into Walmart and be excellent? It wasn't everything I learned at school. It wasn't even the things that I learned while I was actually an athlete in sports. You know what it really was? It was the things I learned from my parents. More so the things that my dad built into me, instilled in me through the work ethic that he demonstrated and even called me to demonstrate when we did work together. The yards that we were cutting and the siding that we were holding up, the different, tree cutting that we would do, the things we would do when my dad would get his guitar and he would say, hey, come with me, son. We're going to such and such house and we're going to come sing some songs of encouragement to them and all that kind of stuff. It was those types of things that built in me this value that I brought to the work environment. Matter of fact, the kindness that I exhibited to people came from the connections of the relationships that I had with people when my parents would take me to be introduced to people, when I would go to their jobs, or when they would take me and they would be meeting people, for various events and things of that sort. We dressing up for gala affairs and all that. They would teach me how to engage, how to, behave myself and, represent, what it is that we were about as a family and our focus. And then, my grandfather being our pastor a number of those years. And so you're having to deal with greeting people coming up to you. How you doing? I hear you're this person's grandson and this and that. And, all those different things. And that was all family. That wasn't business. Now, don't get me wrong. My grandfather being a pastor, that kind of put him in an environment to where there were some aspects of business elements because of the various dynamics there, which was certainly a part of it. My dad was a part of, or a leader of ministries within the construct of the church. And so we would be a part of those things. But that's why I got a lot of my experience. It wasn't from the workplace. It was from the house. And I translated it from the house to the business. So much and so that I started working with Walmart in May of 2000. June of 2000, at 16 years of age, I was awarded Cashier of the Month, and I was a 4-star cashier at 16 years of age. Trust me, there was some people 20, 30, 40 years my age who were coming in with me and were employees, and they were not 4-star cashiers. They saw value in the value that I brought, and they recognized it. But I remember getting that, back in the day, they used to give you a burgundy jacket that said, a burgundy smock, they called them, that said 4-star cashier on it. It had gold lettering and all. It was cool. All right. And I remember taking a picture of that at my grandparents' house, because, my mom wanted me to show them. I wanted to show them too. Wanted me to show them, what it is that I had achieved. And oh man, I'm a 4-star cashier. I remember having all my clean outfit and all that good stuff and standing up nice and unique so people could see that picture and I'm looking like a 4-star cashier of the month. Y'all, I was bringing in some value for that company. Why? Because what had happened in private now had an opportunity to show itself in public. There was an absolute reality of interdependence of my family experience that translated to my business experience. We'll talk about that word translation on day 8. But I want to make sure you understand within the context of these accurate beliefs, this is how powerful they are to destroy the misleading beliefs. When you have an absolute understanding, when you know that family life and business life relate to one another, and not only do they relate, they were designed to relate, which means, like we've been saying it since before we started this transformation challenge for 9 days. We've been saying that family life and business life are meant to be teammates, not opponents. Why? Because the relationship between them is one of interdependence, not dependence, not independence, but interdependence, where they are independent in their function and dependent on each one of them exercising their function, because they flow into and out of one another, and they make fuel independently to depend on fuel being flowed to the other. And that's what I experienced. Like when I go back and I think about my 2000, now you say that's a long time ago, Leo. I got a lot of experiences that I can share with you, but I wanted to share that one because that one was one of the very unique ones related to me and still being at a level of childhood. Yeah, I was transitioning. I was 16. I was close to being 18 and in that age where they say you're an adult. But the truth of the matter, I was still a child. I was living at home with my parents. They would still have to drop me off at work most of the time. Maybe every once in a while they let me take the vehicle to work, all of that. But I was not in charge. I was living at home. And what was happening at home was showing itself at work. What was happening in private and what had happened for years. That's why I started talking about the tree, the seed being sown and going beneath the surface and the tree sprouting and emerging. That's exactly where I was. But here's what I need everybody to know. If your family life is crashing and burning, if you got a friend, a colleague, if you know people whose family lives are crashing, or if your family life is not crashing and burning, but you hadn't really understood these perspectives, and you're like, man, this isn't. I didn't know it like this. This is different. That's good. It's a challenge. Here's what you need to know. Everything that's been said was designed to challenge you, not to disregard you, but to position you for transformation. And being positioned for transformation, what you need to understand is you are in the perfect place. You are in the most unique situation. And if you were not like Leo, to where in the context of his experience and family life and all that was going and growing under the surface, and then all of a sudden he started emerging in 2002, and now this is kind of bloomed into what's existing today, all that kind of stuff. I didn't have that, and so it's hopeless for me. Let me just tell you, that's not the case. That's a misleading belief in and of itself. That's why we even brought the misleading beliefs to the table, so that you can understand there are some things that are wrongly believed, and then you can accurately believe. And when you accurately believe, you can position yourself to be where you ought to be. That's the point of even the reconciled relationship clarity. Understand that what is possible and what was meant for family life and business life is not just what was meant and it's past. No, you can now enter into it. Come on, man. Leo over here getting excited. You can enter into the mastery of family life and business life being teammates. You can enter into being able to have that business life that is thriving and vibing, profitable, productive, but at a level beyond what you could have imagined, because you still got the priority and the precedence for your family life that you should have. Oh, you can re-enter into that. Matter of fact, I had one of the last sessions with one of my clients today, who the focus with him was really dealing with the family piece. Whereas there are some clients that I work with where it's a combination of dealing with the business side to see how that translates to the family side, and deal with the context of that. And then there's some where it's like, having to kind of, help them see how that business side really has so much unique value for the other side that they never could have imagined. But regardless, there's this context of always seeking mastery between family life and business life. But as I was talking with them, and dealing with the construct of family life crashing and burning, one of the things I said to this client at the very beginning of our conversation, because he talked about how, man, I'm killing it in business, family's good, we're not struggling for this or that and so on and so forth, but like, man, I feel like I got so many different, issues that are just affecting me, and I haven't really dealt with them. Me and the wife is not happening like it should, or like I think it could. And then, with the children, so on and so forth, that, just went down the list. And one of the things I told him, which was really related to something most important for him, which was regarding the relationship with his wife, I said, man, I can guarantee you this. I said, I guarantee you that I can help you be a better husband to your wife, no matter what she does, what she says, or what she doesn't do, so on and so forth. He's like, oh, yeah. I said, okay, let's see. Then 2 weeks, we kind of dealt with it. But at the ending of our sessions, which was earlier today, one of the things that I was asking him about, like, where is he today and what does he see himself? You know what he said? He said, I think the most important piece is not just me being a better husband. He said, the truth is, I know my identity. I know what's expected of me. And because I know what's expected of me, I know how to engage with those folks, which is why me knowing who I'm supposed to be and how there is an engagement with those people specific to not only who they are, but my role to them. Like, man, it's transformational. It's like I don't feel like they can say anything or do anything that can disrupt me because I really know what it is I need to do. You know what that is? That's reconciled relationship clarity. What happened? There was focus created. There was a belief that there was focus that could be created. See, you've got to believe that you can create focus between family life and business life. And when you believe you can create focus between family life and business life, you can absolutely believe you can make fuel between family life and business life. And you can absolutely believe that you can achieve flow between family life and business life. That's the power of it. But here's the other side with regard to the misleading beliefs. If you don't believe that you can create focus, which means if you don't believe that family life and business life are related, well, guess what? You're going to feel like you're going to believe that one is more important than the other and that you got to choose one over the other. And then you're going to believe things that you shouldn't believe about them. You're going to try to measure them in ways that they are not to be measured, like work-life balance. But here's what you got to know. It's possible. Oh yeah, I begin to feel my Les Brown in me. Say that with me. It's possible. You gotta believe it's possible. I can't tell you how many times I listened to Les Brown talk about it's possible. I'm glad I did because not only do I know it's possible, I have seen the possibility transition into unleashed potential and family life get resurrected, family life get revived. And so much is so that business life gets revived in a way that I didn't even know it needed to be. My goodness. Listen, I got to say this to everybody who's listening. Let me put this on the screen real quick again. I want you to know that if your family life is crashing and burning, it's crashing and burning because you lack the focus. You don't believe that focus can be created. You don't believe that there was a created focus. You don't believe that you can create focus between family life and business life. If you don't believe that you can create focus between family life and business life, this is going to sound a little interesting. That's okay. Just get with Leo. I'll help you believe that you can create focus between family life and business life. I'll help you make fuel between family life and business life. I will help you achieve flow between family life and business life because I have seen the reality of these accurate beliefs destroying the misleading beliefs and putting myself and others on the trajectory to begin to experience family business life mastery. It's possible. It's possible. You know, I live a reality today. I've talked about this at different points in times, and when I feel that it is valuable to share, I share it. I live a reality today that I have not yet turned 40, but my all of my parents are deceased. My last parent, specifically my maternal grandfather, passed away last January 2021. All of my grandparents began to pass away, specifically all of my parents specific to the level of my grandparents. My first grandparent passed away, I think in 2003. That was my dad's father. That was a little different because, I had a good relationship early on in my young years with him, but there was a lot of inconsistency there to the degree that I had a lot of anger and frustration toward him. And on the day of his funeral, I remember standing in front of his casket and having the greatest sensitivity toward him that I thought was so profound and never imagined that I could have. With all of the things he did, and the inconsistencies that he created, the things he said but didn't measure up to, or come through on, I looked at him laying in that box, his body more so, and I said to myself, I wouldn't be here if it were not for him. That's a powerful perspective of honor, realizing that no matter what choices and decisions he made in my life, that was my father's father. That was a pivotal moment for me. From there, the next person who passed away was my mother. Passed away months after my graduation and just a few months shy of my wedding. That was pivotal as well, but she really gave me some powerful words that positioned me to where I am today. Matter of fact, my mom said 7 words to me that was so impactful. She said, "You don't know who you are yet." And I disagreed with her because I focused on the first 6 words and I missed the last one. Yet. Didn't understand that yet is always calling you to know who you are. Let me tell you something. If your family life is crashing and burning, I tell you like my mother told me, you don't know who you are yet. You don't know the power of your family life and business life yet. But that's powerful in and of itself, because yet it's calling you to know who you are. And Leo, the family business life mastery coach, can help you handle and deal with your yet. But then from my mother passing, it was a number of years. My grandmother, my dad's mother, passed away in 2017. And she had a heart attack, I believe, while driving, and ended up, losing control of the vehicle she was in. And it was a catastrophe from there. It was a fatality. A lot of damage created to the vehicle that she was driving, and even to some property for a retailer that was nearby where she was driving. Happened to be on my dad's birthday, and no one got to say goodbye. Then in 2019, 13 years and a month, which is technically 13 years and 13 months, or 12 years and 13 months, something like that. But in the 13th month of the 13th year, if you understand that, it makes sense. 13 years later from my mother passing, my mother's mother passed away. That one hit me hard. It hit me hard because Granny represented this unique presence in my life that was now gone. Mm. And then that December of 2019, just a day after my birthday, my dad unexpectedly passed away. First time ever in my life, my dad didn't say happy birthday. And then you heard about my grandfather. Now you asked me, Leo, why are you telling me this? Family life is pivotal to me, simply because I look at family life a lot differently by virtue of the fact that family life in the eyes of my daughters, and very likely in the eyes of my grandchildren, will be directed to me. My 7-year-old daughter, she often asks me to tell her stories about my dad. But at the same token, she also likes for me to teach her things about life, about business, about, why things work the way they do. I'm saying this to communicate that I have a very unique commitment to seeing CEOs, business owners, executives experience freedom from this pervasive problem of family life crashing and burning. Simply because that family life crashing and burning disrupts the reality of what the relationship is between family life and business life. The truth is, like Carl said, he said, what's done in private shows itself in public. In other words, the tree and the fruit cannot exist without the root, which started from the seed. Who you are in your family life can be so impactful in your business life when you have an intentionality to deal with family life and business life in the way that you ought to. Now, here's the interesting part. We're going to be talking, we're shifting in this trilogy of transformation. We've dealt with the misleading beliefs, which I'll put those back on the screen real quickly. We dealt with the misleading beliefs. That was the first level of the trilogy. We've dealt with the accurate beliefs, but now we're getting ready to get into the master keys. We're getting ready to unlock. We're getting ready to show you the thought process, the mindset that is behind family business life mastery, that is behind achieving the very essence of family life and business life being teammates, that will position you to be as profitable as you so desire in business without forsaking the productivity of beauty and excellence and value in family life. You see, here's what I know. I don't talk a lot about the statistics, but I know a lot of them. And one of the statistics that I know is that over 90% of the CEOs who have, positioned themselves to be excellent in their roles and really make a difference, over 90% of them, over 90% of them, and this has been for a number of years, over 90% of them wish that they would have given more attentiveness to their family lives. And I'm here to tell you that you don't have to stop being a CEO in order to have a family life that is thriving and vibing. I'm here to tell you that you don't have to be you don't have to be you don't have to not be a business owner. I think I said that right. You don't have to not be a CEO. Is the point I'm trying to make if I didn't say it. You don't have to not be a CEO. You don't have to not be a business owner. You don't have to not be an executive for your business life and your family life to thrive and vibe together. I'm here to tell you that. I thought you couldn't. But then I realized that I could when I started. And kid you not, I was kind of forced to be in this position. So, it wasn't like I was really trying to figure this out. I just want y'all to know it. But here's the thing. We need CEOs in our lives, in our businesses. We need business owners. We need executives. And we need each one of you, male or female, to be enriched in your family life. Because the enrichment there is what makes who and what you are in business what it is. You don't get good fruit if you got no good root. I know that was not articulately appropriate. What you have at the root will dictate what you have in the fruit. All right. And so, what I want you to see here is these misleading beliefs cause family life crashing and burning. The accurate beliefs help to eliminate the cause. But these master keys, they help you unlock a perpetual high performance in achieving family business life mastery. They give you the ability to continuously unlock the unlimited, unfulfilled potential that exists within the context of family life and business life. And it helps you to do it predictably, confidently, without any restrictions. Oh, I'm excited to get into these master keys because I see that getting into these master keys are going to make you, every CEO, every business owner, every executive is going to make you masters in your own right of more than just business. It's going to make you masters of making a difference at the depth and height of life. Listen to me. I've talked about this a few times over the couple days as we get ready to close. The 3 C's of existence and the 3 C's of life. 3 C's of existence: creativity, creation, connection, and contribution. And interestingly, the 3 C's of life, contribution begins them: contribution, compensation, and consumption. What we need to understand is it makes no sense to put the greatest value in business life because business life really primarily thrives from contribution. It thrives from compensation and it thrives from the consumption because that is the construct of our marketplace and our economic strategy. Family life thrives from existence. That family life, watch it, is where creation shows its greatest value. Creation can take place in the aspect of the 3 C's of life as well, but there's the connection there. And that connection is contribution. See, you contribute in a creative and a connecting manner because of the very existence, which means business life really is designed to benefit from the unique private emergence of value and bliss in family life. See, the creation, the creativity, the creative realities in family life, the connection that exists in family life is designed to show itself in the 3 C's of life, in the contributive aspects, in the compensation aspects. See, you want to compensate people well and appropriate when you value those people. See, that's where the existence helps you to do that because you see the value of people when you don't even have the exchange of compensation. That's in the existence. That's in the family life. Oh man, this is good. You contribute in family life because of being created together, because of the creative essence that made you to be together, because of the connection that exists, because of the relationship. But see, when it comes to the surface, contribution becomes an outworking, an emergence from, just like the surface, just like we talked about. You put the seed in the ground, then you got the ground, and then it starts stuff emerging from the surface. That contribution is the connection. And when we start dealing with compensation, it's because of connection. It's because of creativity and creation. We start dealing with consumption, it's because of creation and connection. These are all aspects that make sure it shows that we are here to contribute. We are here to have compensation that enables us to engage in a consumptive experience where we can add value to one another. Got so much more I want to share, but I got to get out of here. I want to thank you for joining us. Listen, I want you to know, I've said this as we were in the context of the heat of this goodness, that if you don't believe these accurate beliefs and you feel like you have a struggle in believing these accurate beliefs, in that it's you hear them, it makes sense, I get it, Leo, but man, it's like, what how do I really handle this? You probably got a lot of questions. Cool, I'm glad you do. Have all the questions you want and bring them to the community. Join the Family Business Life Mastery community, and you can do that by going to team3l.com/FBLM community. and you get all the information. Even if you're on our team3l.com/9-day dash VIP, there is information down below. If you're on YouTube, go into the description. If you're on LinkedIn, go into the post information. It's there. It is there. We want you to join with us. Why? Because we know the power of being challenged for transformation in the context of these realities of family life and business life. So I got to get off my soapbox because I'm a little bit over time. Listen, we are day 6 completed, and it just seems like yesterday that we was just on day 1. Well, we were on day 1, but we're moving forward, seeking to add more value and create more challenge for transformation. If you've been joining us, thank you so much. Continue to join us and continue to get some value. Send us some feedback to let us know if this was good, if it was gourmet, if it was whatever it is to you. Let us know. We'd certainly appreciate it. And you all be well, be blessed, to be a blessing, and make sure you be okay with challenge for transformation, especially as it relates to the achievement of family, business, life mastery. You hear me now? And take care.